Hey there, I'm Melissa Deal, and I am the founder of Compassionate Horse Click, which is a positive reinforcement horse training group. It is full of like-minded individuals, a lot of ladies who are interested in kindly and compassionately training their horses and building deeper connections with them. Some are just interested in relationships, some are just interested in training on the ground, and some are actually interested in performance. But everybody's interested in the health and well-being of their horse and enjoying their horse to their utmost ability. So I'm glad to have you here with us tonight. We've got a couple of questions that have come in. How do you start picking up the feet for training the farrier? All right, awesome. Now that is a very, very good question, and it is a very common question. Okay, so one of the things that is really important, I think, before you start thinking about doing anything with positive reinforcement is you want to know what your cue is going to be ultimately. And what I recommend to people is that they choose cues that look just like traditional training cues, right? And so by that, I mean, if you're going to have your horse pick up its foot, you could do just about anything. You could jump up and down, you could stand on your head, you could say abracadabra, but I don't recommend anything unusual. I recommend just touching the horse on the back of the leg, right above the fetlock joint, on the tendon, just like a normal person would. Now, a normal person, they might squeeze and pull and do whatever if the horse doesn't pick their foot up. That's not what I'm talking about. But I am talking about creating a signal, a cue for that horse to pick his foot up that everybody else is going to use, whether they are positive reinforcement trainers or not. Okay, so that's the first thing to address. Now, when you start to teach the horse to pick their feet up, there's a number of ways of doing it. I work by myself a lot. It can be easier if you have two people, but I'm just going to tell you how I would do it if I was by myself to start, okay? So the first thing that I would do is I would just have the horse where it can nose it's very strong on touching a target, okay? A target could be anything. It could be a noodle. It could be, I use rope floats on the end of a dowel. It could be a rope float on the end of a selfie stick. It could be a noodle. It could be Sarah Marsh, who's a member of this positive reinforcement horse training group, uses these handy little dusters that she gets on Amazon. They're extendable dusters and they're cute as pie. Doesn't matter. Just something novel that you can hold in front of the horse and say touch. The horse touches it and you mark the behavior with a click or a word and you feed. And I would recommend using the clicker at first, okay? Because a clicker is a novel sound, which horses really gravitate to novel sounds and novel objects. So it's going to create a deeper neural pathway. So I'd be like, can you touch this target? And when I know 10 out of 10 times that horse is going to touch that target and I'm going to click and feed. When I have that behavior confirmed, a clean behavior loop, right? Me and the horse, I offer the cue, the horse does the behavior, I reward the behavior, and the horse is ready to start again. When I have that confirmed and secure, then I'm going to start to use the target for other things. And one of those things is teaching the horse to pick up their feet, okay? Or it could be a donkey, any equine you have. I'm just going to use the word horse because that's easier for me. So then what I would do is I would take my target and I would face the direction that I was going to pick the horse's foot up. So in other words, my feet are facing opposite the way the horse's head. And I would take my left hand, so if the horse is facing that way, I'm facing this way, and I would take my target in my left hand, and I would just take it over to the right underneath the horse's head to get him to shift his weight off of the foot nearest me. And when he started that weight shift to move toward the target, I would click and feed. The goal is for the horse to get clicked when he takes his weight off the foot. Not for touching the target here. You're using the target as a lure, okay? So you're just saying, hey, reach toward this target. And when he does, he shifts his weight off of his left fore, which is the foot closest to me, as he reaches towards the target, and you click that, okay? Because you want him to put together the behavior of picking up his foot is what he's getting clicked and fed for, not touching the target itself in this instance, all right? So you're just using the target as a lure. And then I will gradually shape that in very small steps for successive approximations so that he picks his foot up a little more and a little higher, and I will click him for picking that foot up. And pretty quickly, I'm going to be able to reach down and catch that foot and model, what we call modeling a little bit, right? So far we were capturing it as we shaped it with the target, and we were just capturing the lift of the foot. Now we're going to grab a hold of that foot gently and lightly. We're not going to trap him. We're just going to take a hold of it, see if we can encourage him to keep it up in the air for a second. And we're going to click when the foot is in the air, and we're going to reach around and feed. Okay. Another way to do this is to have a feed bucket hanging on the fence in front of him so I can drop the food or throw the food in the bucket. You can also put the food on the ground. That can get a little trickier because sometimes they have a hard time with their balance in the beginning, reaching for the food while you're holding the foot. It's up to you. I've done it all the ways, right? So I've said target. He reaches over toward the target. He picks his foot up off of the ground. I catch it. I click. I hold the foot with this hand, and I reach around and I feed with that hand. If you have your clicker on your target, and I might have to drop my target and all of that or put it in my pocket or something, but if I have my clicker taped to my target, it makes it a little bit easier. Or if I have a thumb ring clicker or at least a clicker with a wristband, that also makes it easier. And it takes a little coordination and practice if you're doing it by yourself. If you have a second person, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the first person reach with the target, and then I'm going to catch the foot myself. And I can click and that person can feed, and you can coordinate that. But that is how I would start. And I'm going to make picking that foot up a party, but not just picking it up. I'm going to make having the foot in the air very valuable for the horse. He's going to enjoy having his foot in the air because he knows he's going to get rewarded with the food that he values while it is in the air. Now, here's one troubleshooting tip for you. A lot of people don't get the timing of the click right, and they click in the moment that the horse is putting the foot down. So either when the horse is on the way down with the foot, or he's already decided to start to put it down, but maybe he hasn't moved it yet, or the foot's actually on the ground and they're clicking and feeding at that point. And you don't want to do that, right? You actually want to click on the way up or while the foot is in the air. And as much as you can, you want to feed while the foot is in the air, not after it's back down on the ground in the beginning, especially if you have a horse that's fairly naive to clicker training or positive reinforcement. Again, you don't have to use the click. You can use a mouth cluck. You can use a word. The click just tends to be the difference between a scalpel and a butter knife, right? So the difference between a click is more like a scalpel and a word is more like a butter knife. So you can do it any way you want, but it usually goes faster with a clicker because remember, they do resonate better with novel sounds. And that is how I would go about that. I would do all 4 feet the same way. The hind feet are far easier, especially if you're new to this kind of training, to do with the second person at the horse's head. So I hope that gets you started. Okay. Again, you're just looking for a weight shift. I do have Pollyanna on this. She's joining us here tonight in this live, and she does this really nice way of just coming up and petting the horse on the hip. And she just gently pets the horse and pets the horse, and the horse will start to relax, and she'll kind of scratch it. And when the horse starts to relax that leg just a tiny bit, she clicks. And that's how she trains the hind feet by herself, right? And so she might go up and put the food on the ground and go back and pet the horse on the butt again and pet the horse on that hip. The horse starts to relax, and you're just observing. It's just a tiny little relaxation at first. She clicks that, she goes back and she feeds, or she has somebody else feed, or she throws the food up to the front of the horse, or she puts it in a pan or in a bucket on the ground and throws it. And she just gradually gets the horse to pick his foot up more and more and more until she's able to catch it herself and model it. Another troubleshooting tip, you don't want to grab a hold of that horse's foot and trap the horse, right? They should be able to take their foot back within reason, right? They shouldn't try to snatch it back and kick you, but that probably means that you held it too hard too long if that happens, right? So you're just giving them the idea that if they get the hoof up and you get your hand around it and it's in the air, they're going to get rewarded for that. And they're just going to naturally gravitate to holding it up longer and longer because you're going to withhold your click another half a second and another half a second and another half a second as they get more and more comfortable. So hopefully that gets you started and helps you answer that question.